grandmother left me a portrait in her will, and every morning I wake up to find it has moved closer to my bed. I inherited the painting 3 weeks after her funeral. It arrived in a wooden crate with a note in her shaking handwriting. "Lily, this has been in our family for 6 generations. Keep it facing the wall. Never look at it after midnight. I'm sorry." The lawyer said she'd been insistent about including that note, even in her final days when she could barely hold a pen. I'm Lily Morrison, 26, a graphic designer living alone in a studio apartment in Seattle. Gran and I were close. She raised me after my parents died in a car crash when I was 8. But in her last year, something changed. She became paranoid, covering mirrors, sleeping with lights on, whispering about things that watched from the corners. Dementia, the doctor said. I believed them. The painting showed a Victorian woman in a black dress, maybe 30 years old, standing in a shadowy room. Her face was beautiful but cold, her eyes dark and penetrating. The brushwork was exquisite, museum quality, but there was something unsettling about it. The way her eyes seemed to follow you. The slight smile that looked more like a smirk. I hung it in my living room because it was beautiful and because Gran had wanted me to have it. That first night, I woke at 3 a.m. with the certainty that someone was watching me. My bedroom door was open though I'd closed it. I got up, checked the apartment, found nothing. The painting hung exactly where I'd left it, the woman's eyes gleaming in the streetlight through my window. The second night, I woke to the sound of footsteps. Soft, deliberate, crossing my living room. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, crept to my bedroom door. The painting was 3 feet closer to my bedroom than it had been. I'd hung it by the front door. Now it was hanging near the bookshelf. My hands shook as I checked the hook by the door. Still there, undisturbed. Someone had moved the painting and rehung it on a different hook. Someone had been in my apartment. I called the police. They found no signs of forced entry, no evidence of anyone else. "Maybe you moved it and forgot," the officer suggested gently. Grief can do strange things to memory. I knew I hadn't moved it, but I let them think I was a grieving, confused girl who'd made a mistake. I moved the painting back, put a piece of tape on the frame, marking its exact position against the wall. Set up my phone to record overnight. That night, I barely slept. At 4 a.m., I checked the footage. For hours, nothing. Then at 2:47 a.m., the video glitched. Static for 3 seconds. When it cleared, the painting had moved. It was now hanging in the hallway, 5 feet closer to my bedroom. The tape was still on the frame, unbroken. I watched that 3-second glitch over and over. In the static, I could almost see something. A shape, movement. The suggestion of a figure in a black dress, captured between frames like a photograph of a ghost. That's when I called my Aunt Rachel, Gran's younger sister. "The painting," I said without preamble. Gran left me the portrait. "It's moving." Long silence. Then, "Burn it. Lily, burn it now. Don't wait." "What? Why? What is this thing?" "It's not a painting. It's a prison. And she's been trying to get out for 160 years. The story Rachel told me was impossible. In 1863, my ancestor Elizabeth Morrison murdered 7 people in that Victorian house. She was never caught, never tried. But the family knew. They commissioned a portrait, hired a spiritualist, and trapped Elizabeth's consciousness inside it using some ritual Rachel didn't understand. Each generation passed it down with the same warning: never look at it after midnight. Never let it near where you sleep. Gran broke the rule, Rachel said. Last year, she told me she'd looked at it late one night. After that, she started seeing Elizabeth in mirrors, in windows, standing at the foot of her bed. The painting was feeding off her, getting stronger. She went downhill so fast. Elizabeth was draining her, trying to gather enough strength to break free. That's insane. Ghosts aren't real. Curses aren't real. Then explain the painting moving. Explain what's happening to you. I couldn't. That night, I locked the painting in my closet, pushed furniture against the door, and slept with every light on. I woke at 2:47 a.m. to the sound of wood splintering. The closet door was open, furniture shoved aside. The painting sat propped against my bedroom doorframe, closer than it had ever been. And the woman in the portrait had changed position. She was no longer standing in that shadowy room. She was reaching forward, one hand extended toward the frame's edge, as if trying to push through from inside. I screamed, grabbed the painting and ran outside in my pajamas, ready to throw it in the dumpster. But the moment I touched it, images flooded my mind. Elizabeth's memories, the thrill of the kills, the satisfaction of watching families grieve, the rage of being trapped inside canvas and paint for over a century, and the hunger. God, the desperate, consuming hunger to be free, to have a body again, to live. The painting fell from my hands. Elizabeth's face in the portrait was clearer now, more detailed than before. She was smiling fully, triumphantly, because I touched it. I'd made contact, and that's what she needed. I drove to Rachel's house at 4 a.m., the painting in my trunk. She was waiting, having known somehow that I'd come. She looked old in the porch light, frightened. We have to complete the ritual. Strengthen the binding. It's the only way. Symbols drawn in salt around the portrait. Rachel's hands shook as she recited the incantation. The painting fought back. The candles gutted out. The temperature dropped until we could see our breath. And Elizabeth appeared, not in the painting but standing behind it, a translucent figure in that black dress, her face contorted with rage and hunger. She lunged at me. Rachel screamed the final words, and the figure shattered like glass. The candles relit. The painting was just a painting again, the woman standing motionless in her shadowy room. But her expression had changed. Now she looked furious, trapped, aware that she'd come so close to freedom and failed. We burned Grant's journal, put new words on the painting. I took it home and did what Grant should have done. I turned it to face the wall, covered it with a black cloth, locked it in a storage unit in my building's basement, in a corner where no one ever goes. That was 2 months ago. I still wake at 2:47 a.m. sometimes, that specific time when the barrier is thinnest. I still feel watched. And last week, when I checked the storage unit, the cloth had fallen off. The painting was facing outward, and Elizabeth was smiling again. Some prisons aren't meant to hold forever. Some evil is patient enough to wait through generations, testing its bonds, looking for the weak point. Grant held the line for 70 years. Now it's my turn. Every month, I check the storage unit. Every month, I reinforce the wards. Every month, I see Elizabeth has moved slightly closer to the frame's edge. One day, she'll break through. Maybe during my lifetime, maybe during my daughter's, if I'm foolish enough to have children and burden them with this inheritance. But until then, I'm the warden of a prison made of canvas and paint, keeping a murder trapped in oil and brush strokes, just as my ancestors have for 6 generations. The painting hasn't moved in 2 months. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I can hear footsteps in the storage unit below my apartment. Soft, deliberate, pacing back and forth. And I know Elizabeth is down there, walking in her prison, testing the walls, waiting for the moment when someone forgets the warnings, breaks the rules, and gives her the chance she's been waiting 160 years to seize. Some legacies are curses. Some family heirlooms are burdens that destroy the ones who carry them. And some works of art aren't meant to be beautiful. They're meant to contain what should never never be released. I understand that now. I understand why Gran looked so tired in her final years, why she slept with lights on, why she whispered warnings about things that watch. Because they do watch. From inside their prisons. Waiting. Always waiting.